the dreadful truth about Brian's ill-fated trip to the boat ramp.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, you?
Good, thanks.
Never really good.
Okay.
Any seats?
Never really did.
Special chair. The special chair because it's soft and I'm old.
Little musical chairs.
Brian is as cooperative and pleasant with the investigators as he was with the deputy who escorted him to the sheriff's office, but his nervous shaking and insatiable thirst indicate he is perhaps not as calm as he's trying to appear.
His mouth is dry as shit.
Whether he's anxious about his fate or excited about his moment in the spotlight. One thing to keep in mind is that according to his mother,
He can't wait to
Brian
talk.
is diagnosed with ADHD and autism, and
So is every kid in the projects.
leg shaking can be a normal,
that's the
stimulating behavior for people with these diagnoses. They read Brian his Miranda rights, and he agrees to speak with
They might not be chopping heads, but they definitely could be chopping up crack.
the officers.
Friend from here?
Yeah. Don't work you do at school? I've went to Broadway Elementary School just across from my dad's house. Then I went to Brooklyn Middle School.
Right.
Look how red he's turning. Look at the shaking, dude. Bro, he can't put the water down.
Graduated last year.
Good for you, okay. Do you work?
Yeah.
Where do you work at?
Not even part-time. I was going to say part-time, not even. As a bagger slash courtesy clerk for Safeway. I work anywhere from 2 to 4 days a week.
We've all seen this kid before. Would you like your bottled water in a bag?
I was just about to say that. He might be somebody that work at a grocery store. Bro, you never know
It may
people.
seem at first glance that the detectives are engaging in idle chit-chat to set Brian at ease, but this is part of rapport building, and it's also crucial for them to establish early on that Brian has been handling responsibilities such as school and work, and is perfectly capable of carrying on a normal conversation. This will make it much harder for Brian to claim before a jury that he was unable to tell right from wrong.
How did you get here? I murdered someone. Okay.
Whoa.
It seems that investigator Berg was merely asking how Brian physically arrived at the sheriff's office, but Brian doesn't stand
handcuffs
on
still.
ceremony. With a tone and head tilt that suggests he's bragging,
That's right. No cuffs. Once again, he's still not cuffed up or chained to the table. Oh, we forgot he's not a threat. He's a grocery store clerk.
Brian makes the ultimate confession. In fact, he's all too willing to discuss this horrific crime with detectives.
To start back at the beginning and go slow and tell me as many details as you can remember. So, because I mean, Murray going to jail for the 15 years.
You think?
I have no idea. We're at the beginning. It's murder.
The sarcasm. I have no idea.
I mean, I'm going to jail for 20, probably. But so I figure, why fight it? Okay. So what's important to me is to learn as much about you and what you did and as I can. Well, many details as you can give me, the better.
Brian's polite exterior only adds to the surreal depravity of his confession. He's somewhat of a unique suspect.
Unique or strange and deranged?
The latter.
Yeah, it was the night of February 27th. It was a full moon. And I figured I could see so well, why not try it out? I am in a bad state of mind at that time. I have major depressive disorder, so I am...
Let's be clear, folks. This is your classic case of a textbook copycat killer.
not thinking something positively. Okay. And I'm cruising around for an hour and a half. So I fill up on gas halfway through, and I'm eventually driving underneath the bridge near the sheriff's office. I'm backwards for it. I'm just... And, by the way, I'm a habitual late shaker. I have a question. Mm-hmm. You send people who have committed crimes like me. Do we stay in this county jail or are we moved? It all depends on what the judge says.
Brian maintains his spirit of cooperation, but he's clearly concerned about what happens after this interview is over. It's interesting to note how he compares himself to others with the phrase, people who have committed crimes like me, almost as if he has joined an exclusive club.
Which further proves my point that he's a copycat killer. Like, this guy is probably a member of some social media club where there's thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of kids who think and like the same movies and are in the possible anime and attend your Comic-Con. And let's get this straight and let's be clear, folks. This is no shade to the people who do, patronize such events as Comic-Con or Marvel events or things of that sort. But he's definitely one of these guys that we've all seen out in public, man, that we pass day to day, man. And it's important that we stay vigilant, folks.
When we were at the bridge, yes, I was at the bridge. I was cruising to, there was a road underneath, right? Under the overpass. And I was driving along, and I see a shape here on the railway track. So I'm like, oh, interesting. And I go up, and as I'm looking, I see a large thing wrapped in a canvas. Okay. And I'm like, that's a homeless person. So I grab my knife.
He grabbed his knife.
He sounds like an alien to me.
Put on 3 layers of gloves because plastic gloves can betray their users because they're so thin, the final gloves, by putting your fingerprints through. So I put on 2, 3 on one hand. I took the knife, I pulled back the canvas, and I stabbed his neck. Okay. He was panicking at first in his old man voice. He was in his 50s. I know why I call him old man. He was saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Why? Ah!" And I just kept on stabbing his neck.
It's terrible, man.
It's okay if I do a demonstration. Oh, yeah. This is him. I was strapped on top of him like...
Oh, he wants to demonstrate, man.
Yeah.
He's handing over the case, as he should. He's admittedly, admitting to what he's done. And he has no remorse. It's like he's acting out a movie or some sort. Let's get back to it.
Okay. And he couldn't fight back. It was actually surprisingly easy. I was barely breaking a sweat. I thought, this guy, he's going to be tough. But no, it was actually surprisingly easy. And during the time I was
premeditated.
beating animals.
At this point, there can be no doubt that Brian is excited to tell the investigators all about his horrific...
He definitely is excited, man. This is crazy.
All the other kids with the pumped up kicks better run faster than my bullet. That's him. Eric and Dylan.
Not only is he pleased to be holding court, he's actually reliving the murder and relishing the memory, demonstrated by a smile. As for any question of this crime being premeditated, Brian admits to having put on 3 layers of gloves, which he already had with him.
The whole ordeal lasted about a minute and a half. Okay. And when I was finished stabbing him, he took out his last breath, a grunt, and his head was halfway cut off in stabs. All the while, after I killed him, I just couldn't stop saying, stinky, dirty, stinky. I wasn't smelling anything, but...
What? He's a nut.
Hold up, what did he just say?
He said he couldn't stop saying dirty, stinky, dirty.
Oh, wow.
And he said he wasn't smelling anything. He just couldn't stop saying it.
Wow.
In an eerie coincidence, on one of his social media accounts,
What's that say?
Brian identifies himself as that stinky boy, registered under his email ID.
So maybe he was picked on because he stinks. I don't know.
I do remember doing it, so... Yeah. I suppose it was just me speaking out my mind at that moment. It was a pouring out of mind.
Were you worried about, I mean, this looks like it's pretty close to the road and stuff. Somebody seeing you
Well,
or catching you?
it was 11 p.m., so not many were driving by. Well, it was behind the pillar. So, like, here's the road. It was here. So people would only see a brief thing here and here.
So, were you worried about them seeing you?
I was worried about one of them stopping.
What did you think could happen if somebody...
Well,
And of course, no one noticed.
Right, like the cop didn't notice when Dahmer had a body, his first kill, in the trunk.
Right.
if they looked, well, it was quite dark under there, so they wouldn't have seen the guy unless they looked. They would have seen me holding a bloody 12-inch knife, wearing gloves, and wearing a mask to conceal my identity, a face mask.
Okay. So you weren't doing it for COVID, you were doing it to hide your face?
Partially. Social distancing.
He's a nut.
Oh, look at that laugh again. Check this guy out.
So he went out full moon with a mask.
Yeah, but no one stopped, and I'm just like, proves the bystander
Looking for a
effect.
victim.
His laughter and offhand comments speak to his mindset, which is that nothing is wrong. Brian mentions the bystander effect here, which is the idea that the more people there...
It's not his mindset. It's just him. That's his personality. It's not a mindset. That's that guy. That's him.
I got a question. Do you guys think people are born evil or what?
Yeah, let's see that in the comments. Is he born evil, or is this something he's learned?
...are watching a crime, the less likely that anyone will stand up and do anything about it. There are a few different reasons behind this, but we know that it often occurs because people may be afraid that they'll be judged by the rest of the crowd if they step in first to do something. Ultimately, people are social creatures, and the vast majority of people chose to do whatever the rest of the crowd does. It's a rare person that steps forward alone.
I noticed you got a cut on your hand. Is that from...
Oh, that was when I was doing gas, when I filled up. What happened was, because I don't want to be seen in a gas station with a knife poking out of my pocket, I put it in the car on the back seat floor. When I'm done with it, I try and grab it, but my hand slips and grabs the blade, and as I pick it up, it slices these two fingers.
Okay.
I wonder did his mom notice that the kitchen knife was gone?
Well, of course they probably didn't notice it, like they said in the interview. You know, but that's what they said in the interview. You know, they are talking to the cops, and she probably did notice the knife was gone and probably knew he had it, but thinking, oh, he's just messing around.
He's just gonna kill another cat.
Right.
And then after that, I stripped his clothes. I cut open his belly.
Oh man.
See his guts. They're really pink. Sorry, that was more.
They're really pink.
One of the exceptional aspects of Brian's confession is the level of detail he provides. Together with his casual commentary and jokes, these details convey to investigators that Brian is being fully truthful about what he did. It's also worth noting that morbid humor has long been one of Brian's trademarks.
What about other kids in the neighborhood or on the bus?
He didn't really, he had a couple of friends that he's had since elementary, but, he had a morbid sense of humor and would make jokes that would be pretty nice.
Who does this sound like, guys? Go ahead and say it, bro. You've been saying it all, the whole show.
Oh, Jeff.
Funny.
But this
Yeah,
Brian,
you just don't get my sense of
this
humor.
Brian, the stinky
In an
kid.
interview with prosecutors, Kylan Light, who's known Brian since the 9th grade and whose house Brian was visiting just before
Oh no, he's actually got girls for friends. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised.
his arrest, says that being provocative is a hallmark of his personality.
When I first met him, he was very edgy, is the best way I can describe it. He loved to get a reaction out of people and say things that would make people have a double take. He wanted to go against the flow. His jokes were always in the realm of dark humor. Very rarely did he make jokes that weren't somehow relating to death or violence or just...
And you guys are his friends, so that means you guys laughed at the jokes, I'm guessing?
Destruction or breaking the law or just basically just humor that is considered dark humor.
Just like Eric and Dylan with the Columbine situation. A couple of their classmates said that they had been making jokes that whole year about doing something terrible to their classmates.
I know a couple of people personally who just hated him because that's kind of how he is. You either think it's hilarious or you hate it. And that's the people who think it was hilarious was a small percentage of people that unfortunately and embarrassingly included myself. And my very best friend of high school, Emily, was someone who hated him. And, you know, she's a bigger girl and he would call her fat and call her pig and call anybody who looked like that things along the same line. Like, just spiteful, I guess. Just trying to, like I said, get a rise out of people.
Kylan Like is not the only one who noticed Brian's love of sick humor. While in a youth diversion program 2 years earlier, Brian asked the other teens if they enjoyed a snack known as crispy meat bites. He joked that the recipe involved running your cat or dog through a meat grinder and then frying them up.
What did I say? What have I been saying?
Here's a newsflash, y'all. Uncle Sam is blessing us with a 5K spending card that is available for everybody to claim. All thanks to the Inflation Relief Act that...
Despite Brian's predilection for dark humor, Kylan's mom tells investigators that she never worried about her daughter being friends with him.
He didn't seem scary to me at the time. He just seemed unusual. Like, in the way that my nephew and other people I know that are on the spectrum are just a little unusual. Like, not a lot of eye contact, you know, things like that. But he never struck me as scary. Like I said, I actually let my daughter and her friends, not that I was in charge of her friends, but I let her sleep over at his house, like a month, 2 months, whenever New Year's. And his mom, as far as I know, she ran a daycare, so I thought, you know, good with kids, whatever, you know.
Okay. Not only does Brian's mom run a daycare, she runs it out of her home. Upon discovering the severed head in her son's closet that afternoon, she had to scramble to get parents to pick up their children before calling police.
And I took home all the children. I had a few little kids over, but I was watching.
I wonder if she still have that daycare.
Who, the mom?
Yeah.
I hope not. I hope not. You know they don't after this.
No, not
of course not, but... Man, you got to be more careful, people.
Family emergency, please don't pick up your children this way. They're safe. They're not hurt. Parents came, and everything's okay, and they took their kids home.
Back in the interrogation room, Brian goes into further nauseating detail about the post-mortem mutilation of...
And stay tuned for part 3, guys.